Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through 6 different drugstore primers and telling you which one I think is the best. We're gonna do this in kind of a ranking style, so I'm gonna start off with the one that I think is by far the worst option. I really wanted to just kind of test out some different drugstore primers because I feel like primer is a category that not everyone really likes, but I actually use it, I would say 6 out of 7 times of me doing my makeup, if not all 7 times of the 7. So pretty much every day of the week, I'm using a face primer, and I find it to be pretty important for my skin. So a little bit about my skin before we jump into it. I have extremely dry skin, I would say, and lately I've been having a little bit of problematic skin. So I'm finding that some foundations aren't sitting well on my skin that have always sat well on it. I'm just dealing with a little bit of texture, and I think a lot of that is due to it being pretty dry. I also have a lot of redness on my skin, so you'll see in the demos that, especially on this cheek here, I have a lot of redness. So I really wanted to test out some drugstore green tinted primers. I know color correcting has been kind of a little bit of a buzzword lately, and I feel like a lot of people are doing it. So I think maybe part of that kind of led into this video of me wanting to try a green primer, but I feel like lately the redness on my cheeks, especially on this side, has just been peeking through a lot through my foundation. I am wearing a pretty full coverage foundation today, and I feel like you can still kind of see that my redness is here, and that's okay. I don't mind that it peeks through a little bit, but I did want to try some primers that might help to kind of color correct that redness. So that's a little bit about my skin. I've got redness, I've got dry skin. Other than that, I'm not acne prone. I don't have really any oily patches on my skin. So if you have oily skin, these might not be, you might not have the exact same results as I'm having. Even if you have dry skin, the results could be different. This is just what I've noticed, but I wanted to kind of give you guys the rundown on 6 different drugstore primers and let you know which ones I think are the best. We're gonna start out at number 6. This one I think is awful. If you guys watched my most recent declutter video, you probably heard me talk about this. I'm actually going to be getting rid of this after I film this video. So I will be putting in some demo footage. I'm just going to tell you guys about it as you watch me apply it, and you can see the before and after. So this is actually a super hydrating primer. It's from Essence. It's called the Hydro Hero Primer. It is a 48-hour hydrating primer with hyaluronic acid and cucumber extract. There's 1 fluid ounce in the bottle, and this retails for $4.99. So actually there's 1.01 fluid ounces, but this does retail for $4.99. So very affordable, but the biggest red flag here is that it has such a strong scent. I cannot stand strong scents. They give me headaches. They sometimes give me migraines even. So I just really have to stay away from the strong scents. And this one is awful for my headaches. The scent of this is kind of like an ocean scented candle, I would say. Something that's kind of ocean or maybe even a linen sort of description on a candle is something that I would consider this to smell like, and it's very strong as if it is a candle. It's just terrible in my opinion. I do not like it. That is a scent that immediately will give me a headache. So that puts it at the bottom of the list no matter what. I can't use the product. Outside of the scent, I did test this out for you guys. I was only able to use it twice. Once for the full day to see how long the smell would linger. I felt like it lingered for a little bit, but once I had all of my makeup on and went throughout the day, I didn't smell it anymore, but I did have that headache for the whole day. So I'm not really sure if the smell actually did go away or if I just kind of got used to it, but I did have a headache for the whole day. The second time was to put it on for the demo of this video, and I washed my face immediately after I filmed that demo. So aside from the scent, the formula itself is extremely hydrating. I think this is one of those just really nice hydrating primers. I don't think this is going to really help the longevity of your makeup. I didn't really notice that it helped the longevity of my makeup the day that I wore it the whole day, and I could not really test it anymore to see if it would. But I think this is a nice primer aside from the scent. If this were to come out in a fragrance-free version, I would be all over it. I would love it. This is kind of that same sort of texture of the Smashbox Primerizer, I would say. It's just very, very, very hydrating. So I do think this is a nice one. It's kind of similar to the old Catrice one, I believe, in the blue packaging. It's been a really long time since I tried that one, but I think that this is pretty similar to that one. Just would not recommend at all because of the scent, unfortunately. So that one is number 6, but the next 5, luckily, I actually really like all of these. So from here on out, I would actually suggest all of them, and I'll tell you a little bit about why I'm ranking them the way that I am, but we will get into that. So let's jump into number 5. Number 5 is from Wet n Wild. This is the Glass Correct Primer Base. It corrects redness, supposedly. It has 0.91 fluid ounces and it retails for $6.99. So this one, I was really excited to try this because of the affordable price tag and because it is supposed to be a redness reducing primer. However, unfortunately, I find that when you blend this into your skin, all of the green pigment completely goes away. I didn't find it to neutralize any of my redness. You guys can kind of judge by yourselves in the demo and see if you think that there's any difference, but I personally haven't noticed one, and I've used this several times now, so you might be able to see through. I don't think you can see through the packaging, but I can on the other side here. So I've actually used up about this much of it, and that is why this is ranking number 5, because I feel like you kind of have to use a lot. It is a thicker consistency, so it's just a little bit more like a moussey texture almost, and since there's not even a full fluid ounce in this, I do feel like I will fly through this. But even though it doesn't correct the redness, I still really do like the formula. It's very moisturizing. So I do want my primer to help my makeup stay on, if possible. So here you can see it has a green tint, but truly as you actually blend it in, especially on my face, I just didn't really feel like it had that anymore. So I feel like it just didn't really neutralize it enough. Maybe I just have a little bit too much redness on my cheeks to notice, but hopefully you guys can tell in the demo one way or the other. But it's kind of why it's in at 5th place and not any higher. I actually had this at 4th place and I switched it with the one I'm going to talk about next because based on the claims, I just don't really feel like it deserved to be another place higher. It's really moisturizing though. I really like the texture of it. I do feel like it might help your makeup stay on a little bit because it does have like a little bit of a tack to it once you've blended it into the skin. I just feel like it didn't help at all with my redness. So that's why it's in 5th place, but I do really like this one. It doesn't have a noticeable scent. It just kind of smells like a primer to me. So I don't know, it just kind of smells like a primer. There's only really one other primer that has a scent and it's ranked higher, but it's a scent that I love. And when I talk about it, you guys have probably heard me talk about it before, but I'll mention it then. So this one doesn't really have a scent. Okay, spot number 4. This is the one that I had switched with the last one we just talked about. This one is from Catrice. It retails for $8. This is the corrector and it's the anti-redness primer with Cica and allantoin. I don't know what that is, but it's their green one. So again, this is supposed to be redness reducing. This primer has 1.01 fluid ounces. So I still have that Wet n Wild one on this hand. So I'm gonna blend this one out probably about the same amount of primer, roughly just like a little bit. And I wanna blend this in so you can see the opposite or like the comparison of the two. So this one is very, very green, very pigmented, which is honestly a little bit overwhelming, but I wanted to blend it in and show you guys because if you're using this underneath foundation, this can be very helpful. So this is kind of what I need on my cheeks where there's so much redness. So you guys can see the comparison here. Like this one definitely has a green neutralizing tint to it, whereas this one from Wet n Wild really just looks like that kind of glass skin effect. But I just don't find that there's the green undertone for redness reducing. So this one I feel like has pros and cons from Catrice. This one, of course, the main selling point is redness reducing, and I feel like it actually does that. So I just felt like it kind of deserved to be one spot higher than the Wet n Wild one, but it's not any higher in the ranking because I feel a little bit limited by this. So something to consider if you're using this one is that if you're going to use a really lightweight foundation, you need to be careful to only put a little bit of this on the skin because it is very green, so you kind of then have to cover up the green. So moving forward, the way that I'll probably use this is to put it on top of a moisturizing primer, use a different one, maybe even use the Wet n Wild one, and then kind of put this, especially in the most red areas of my skin, for kind of a more targeted color corrector. I really prefer this as a color corrector versus something like in a concealer wand. I don't really know why. Maybe I should try another one of those. I've had one in the past. that was more of like a concealer type corrector, but I just feel like because I have a larger area like on my cheeks that I would just prefer it to come in packaging like this. I feel like it's a better value. So I'm excited to have this in my collection, but I will likely only be targeting this in certain areas versus using it over the whole face. The other primers in this lineup are ones that I could use over the whole face. They're a little bit less maintenance. I don't have to think as hard about them, whereas this one, I need to make sure that I'm pairing it with at least a medium coverage foundation to be able to actually cover up the green. But when I use this, I do feel like my redness does not peek through foundation. I do not have this on today. I have my number 1 on today, so you'll see that in a little bit, but this one I do honestly feel like deserves a pretty good review. So I just wanted to kind of explain the difference really between the two green ones, because the other 4 primers that we're talking about today are mostly based on hydration, whereas the 2 of these were really the redness reducing ones. So those are it for the green primers. So top 3. Number 3, this one is almost the most expensive. This one retails for $11.99. It is from Milani, and it is the Skin Quench Hydrating Primer. This has hyaluronic acid and coconut water. Some people are really sensitive to coconut water, so if you are, be careful about that. I know it can be an irritant to some people's skin. Personally, I find that coconut water or coconut derived products are actually really great for my skin. I find that they don't irritate it at all. My favorite facial cleanser is the one with coconut in it from e.l.f., the Bounce Back Jelly Cleanser. I've never found one that works better for my skin in particular, so just keep that in mind if you are sensitive to coconut, but I think this one works great. This one is ranked a little bit lower than my top 2 because I feel like you have to use a lot of the product. This is a very odd texture. It's hard to explain, so I'm going to try my best, but hopefully you can see in the demo, it is just a little bit of a thicker consistency. So when you put this on, it's not the most comfortable to apply, but the amount of moisture that you can tell is in your skin after you apply this is pretty incredible in my opinion. I feel like this really does perform like a high-end primer, even though it's a little bit more work to blend it into the skin. It's not excessive or anything, but it is just a little bit thicker. So this one says that it is a creamy lotion texture, which I would agree with. It's more of like a lotion or a thicker end moisturizer. And when you keep that in mind, I think the texture makes more sense. It also says it has a natural finish, and it says enhanced with hyaluronic acid and coconut water, which we already talked about. So it has a lot of hydration in it. I feel like it does leave a pretty natural finish, maybe a slight little bit of dew, but it's not like that glass skin sort of a look, but you can just feel how moisturized your skin is once you put this on. I feel like it makes a really great base for foundations. I do think that this helps my makeup last longer. It feels like it's really prepped the skin and it's ready for foundation. I feel like foundation blends really well over this, and I really do suggest it. This one has 1 fluid ounce, and it kind of smells like makeup-y. I don't think this has any added fragrance, but it just kind of smells like makeup, so I think that's fine. I really don't feel like you could go wrong with this one, but I would suggest trying to pick it up on sale. Sometimes Milani, I feel like, is on like a 20% off sale at Ulta or something. I feel like I see them on sale quite a bit, so I would suggest picking this up on sale if possible, because the $11.99 price tag just feels like a lot, because I feel like I'm using a lot of product at once. That's just something to keep in mind, but I do really like this one, and it's different. But the more and more that I've used it, the more I've liked it. And I feel like it's really, really great for my dry skin. Okay, we're in my top 2, and I gotta say, I really thought my number 2 was gonna be the number 1. But I'm trying to be unbiased here a little bit, as much as possible at least. But of course, these are just my opinions. I gotta say, I'm still gonna continue to repurchase this one, but I feel like it really does deserve to be in the number 2 spot here. So this is the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Hyaluronic Acid Primer. So this one actually retails for $12, so it's the most expensive one of the ranking. It is 1 penny more than the last one we talked about from Milani. This one has 1 fluid ounce in it, so it is on par with the Milani one, but this goes a lot farther. So whereas the Milani texture is a thicker texture, the Colourpop one goes just a really long way every time that you use it. This is a very, very hydrating primer. I think it just blends in so nicely. It leaves your skin looking like literal glass. I think this one has coconut in it also. You might want to check the ingredients list if that's something that you're sensitive to, but it does smell a little bit tropical like coconut. But again, that doesn't really bother me, so keep that in mind. I actually love the scent of this primer. This is one of my favorite scents in any of my makeup products. I feel like I mentioned that a lot, but for some reason this is really nostalgic to me. Something from my childhood smelled like this. I don't know what it is. Haven't figured that one out, but it smells delicious and I love it. Does not irritate my head, which is so nice. It's very subtle. It's not strong at all. Very soft, very subtle. Really like this one. So the reason that this one is in number 2 instead of number 1 mostly is because of longevity. I feel like this gives my skin a really good base for foundation to go on, but I don't feel like this one really helps tremendously with the length of the wear of my foundation. So this one is just mostly for hydration. It helps with my dry skin a lot, but it also helps for foundation to just sit better on my skin. I mentioned earlier that my skin's been having a little bit of trouble lately with foundations looking nice on top of it. So this one's just like a tried and true. This is my second bottle. This is my third bottle to go through. No, I think this is my second bottle of this to go through. I love this. This is one of my favorites. I will continue to repurchase. The only thing about this is that sometimes when you purchase this, it's like a bright orange. For some reason, the color changes, but it's supposed to be, or is advertised to be, this more like light creamy peach sort of color. So if you see that the one that you're gonna buy in Ulta, maybe just like open the box and see that it is this color, because this is what it's supposed to look like. They advertise it to look like this. I don't think that the other color means it's gone off or anything. But I will say when I ordered this one, I got one of those bright orange ones in and it smelled off. So if it doesn't smell good and it's orange, it probably has gone off, but I don't feel like I have to use this within like 6 months or anything. I feel like I just kind of take my time to use this, use it up naturally, and I haven't had one go bad. When that came in the mail like that, they did send me a new one. I reached out to them and let them know, and they sent me a new one right away. So just something to note, it is supposed to be this kind of light, sort of creamy peach sort of a color, and it's supposed to smell good. So yeah, this one I just really love. I've always really liked this one. I just feel like it really reacts well to my skin, but it doesn't really help the longevity of my makeup as much as it does the application and initial looking process of it. So that's why it's not number 1, but I do really love this one. Okay, which leads us to the number 1 primer that I tried out of the 6 from the drugstore. This is from e.l.f. It has obviously gotten a lot of buzz lately. This retails for $10 and it is the Power Grip Primer. This one is, of course, the primer that they had in their Super Bowl commercial, and I feel like they've been putting that over their Instagram a lot, so you've likely seen this in that commercial. This one is what I have on underneath my makeup today. I know you can't really like tell what it looks like under the makeup, but I'll go ahead and show you guys the footage of putting it on. It says to apply evenly to your face before makeup using your fingertips to pat into skin. The warmth of your fingers will help the product melt into your skin for even application. Allow 30 seconds to set before applying makeup. That is the key. You have to let this sit for 30 seconds before you put on your foundation. So make sure that you let this set, because I was in a rush one day, put this on over my face, and then I used the L'Oreal Age Perfect like serum foundation that's in a squeeze tube, and I just kind of drew it on my face, and then I blended it out, and you could see the line of where I put the makeup. That is how well this primer holds on to your foundation, but I didn't let it set for 30 seconds, and so that line was just there, because by the time I had drawn it on this side and then on this side, put it down, got my brush and started to blend, it had set and it was there. So as long as you put this on and let it sink into your skin and let it sit for a couple of seconds, 30 seconds, then you put on your foundation, this is going to make your makeup last all day long. Again, this one's not the most comfortable, the most satisfying to apply. I tend to kind of rub it in and then I will pat it in, but I feel like every day is slightly different. Sometimes I will just pat, but today for the demo, I kind of did what I would typically do, where I kind of just rubbed it in and then I kind of patted it all into the skin. So that's the way I've been using it. This is so good. I cannot believe this is only $10. It's really, just threw it across the room, but it is a really, really great primer. The second option, the Colourpop one, is going to be a lot more comfortable to apply. It's going to feel a lot more like satisfying and soothing to just like rub into the skin. This one is sticky, so you can see the stick. That's kind of what they were advertising in the Super Bowl commercial, but this makes your makeup last all day long. I don't know, some people, I feel like I watch videos and they say, oh, 5 hours of wear is a long time. I go to work for 9 hours a day. I put my makeup on about an hour before work and I take it off anywhere between 2 and 3 hours after I get home from work. So I am wearing my makeup all day long and I want it to look good, at least until I get home. And if I'm going somewhere after work, like I don't want it to just like start to break down and expire. So I find that this primer has really helped with the day-to-day wear of foundation. It might not be my go-to on a Saturday or a Sunday when I'm just kind of wanting a fun makeup look for a few hours. I'm probably gonna reach for something more like a Colourpop one just because it's like more of an experience to use, I guess. I just enjoy applying it more, but the e.l.f. one is not like uncomfortable. It doesn't like pull your skin or anything. If it does, I would just recommend patting it in. I really always make sure to pat it in very well in the crevices of my nose right here, and then also my smile lines. I feel like it just helps so much. I really just make sure that, especially in this like middle portion of my face, that I'm really careful that I'm pushing it in all the way. You also want to make sure that you put it on your temples. I feel like sometimes I forget to put primer or makeup on my temples as much, and then I can find a little bit of patching. So it's not like excessive, it's not like a crazy patching or anything, but I do try and make sure that I do apply an even layer. This primer also feels like it's putting a lot of moisture in your skin. It's not drying at all. Even though it's not as emollient and fun to put on, it does lock in moisture. I feel like this actually is really extremely moisturizing to my skin without leaving it looking slick or glass-like, which I don't always want. Sometimes I just really want that longevity. That's why I think this is the #1 out of the 6 that I've tried, because it has that moisturizing element that I'm really interested in, and it also helps my makeup last all day long. I feel like my makeup looks perfect when I wear this. So this is one that I feel like I might could try and put this on and then put that Catrice green primer right on my cheeks after this has set for 30 seconds and then go with my foundation. I feel like I want to try that out and see how that would work and kind of play around with layering the 2 primers. I feel like that might be something I want to try pretty soon. Hopefully that would be a good combo, and I really want to try that, but I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you guys can get some ideas on a drugstore primer if you're looking for one. Let me know down below if you've tried any of these, if you feel the same way that I did about them, or if you have a different opinion. Be sure to let us know your skin type also if you do comment on them, so that you can help others know how it might work for them. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy today's video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.